The Public Secondary School Commission from, that is the arm that deals with public secondary schools from NEAS, which is our accredited organization. And so I'm very honored to introduce to you Ms. Janet Allison.
Good evening. Can you all hear me? They gave me a mic, but if I stand here, I think you probably can. Can you hear me up there? Well, so that's okay.
You want the mic here? I don't think you need it, but...
Huh? Oh, well, that's true. He's probably already taken. Gotcha.
It's not too, I don't know.
Okay, how's that? Is that better? Okay, thanks. Well, good evening. Another rainy day in New England. It's not snow. We were talking just before the program. Actually, it did snow in parts of New England on Saturday, believe it or not. I think it's probably melted, but it's springtime. We keep waiting for it. So hopefully it's here pretty soon. What happened? Okay. Well, I've distributed two documents. One is a copy of our standards for accreditation, and the other is just two double slides per page of the PowerPoint. That what I'd like to do is go through the PowerPoint and then take time for questions and that you may have from the audience. And there may also be times when either the principal and or the superintendent may also wish to respond to some of the questions. We have some folks who'd still like materials. Okay, so I'm Janet Allison. I'm pleased to be here this evening. I have worked for the association for 23 years. I'd like to tell you I started when I was just a young educator. That's not the case. Prior to that, just so you know, I am a public school educator. I've worked in middle schools, high schools. High schools, I taught many years ago in a large urban high school with 2,200 students in Atlanta, Georgia, a small rural school, and then I worked in a regional high school with about 1,100 students. And I think when I took this job several years ago, if anyone had ever told me that I would have learned as much about public schools throughout New England, I probably would have been quite doubtful of that, but I continue to be amazed at what I have learned, and I'm deeply appreciative for all the people who work in public school systems. They work very, very hard under some very tough circumstances, and leadership positions these days pretty much are 24/7 jobs. You get calls at all hours from a variety of people asking you what you're going to do about something. So anyway, go ahead. Thanks. Let me just talk to you a little bit about, it'll scroll down, who we are. The New England Association of Schools and Colleges is one of 6 educational accrediting associations in the United States. We're a private, nonprofit, voluntary organization, and we are authorized by the federal government, but we are not a governmental or a state organization. Again, we're private. We're authorized to do one thing, and that's to accredit schools. And frankly, folks, we have plenty to do, accrediting schools. And we have 6 commissions within our association. We have and as Peter said, the high school belongs to the association through the Commission on Public Secondary Schools. But they are a member, this high school is a member of the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. And for many years, we accredited this as a middle high school. But just to be clear, a substantive change occurred, and there are now 2 principals, one for the middle school program, one for the high school program. And the commission policy is that we accredit the school based on the programs for which the principal is currently responsible. So just so, in case anybody has a question about that. We have 879 member institutions, and we have one source of income, and that's membership dues, which are charged on an annual basis. And I would tell you that we accredit schools throughout the world. You may or may not know that. The fastest growing commission within the association is the Commission on American and International Schools Abroad. And we accredit schools in Mongolia, China, Russia, many, many countries which were once part of the Soviet bloc, Central and South America. It's an amazing organization, and American families living overseas, particularly, was how it started. Very interested in their children attending accredited schools, coming back here, generally, almost always, to attend universities and colleges. So we accredit schools throughout the world. The Commission on Public Secondary Schools has 650 member schools. So Georgetown High School is accredited, and there are 649 other middle high schools, and a small number of pre-K to 12 schools that we accredit within our commission. There are 26 people who serve on the commission. I do want to talk to you a little bit about that, and I'm very serious, that esteemed body. These are 26 public school educators, with one exception. We have a public member, and that rotates, and again, they serve from all 6 states, so every one of the 6 states is equally represented. And we have a public member, and that rotates among the 6 states. They typically serve 2 3-year terms in office, and they're all volunteers. They do this work pro bono. They are not paid. Most of them chair a visiting committee for us once a year, which is hundreds of hours. I don't want them to count how many hours it is, quite honestly. They attend 4 commission meetings a year for 2 days, a summer training program, and it is that body that makes the decisions about accreditation. There are 4 of us on the staff who work with these 650 schools. And over my career with the association, I should count, but I've probably been in at least 80% of the schools we accredit throughout New England, from Limestone, Maine, to Greenwich, Connecticut, to Danbury, Connecticut, and anywhere in between. Our smallest school is on the island of North Haven, Maine. Anybody ever been there? 14 teachers and about 87 students. And our largest is Brockton High School within the Public Commission, over 4,000 students. Same process, same set of standards, same protocols. And so these people make the decisions, and the 1,100 volunteers does not include the 26 commission members. These are 1,100 people who work in high schools, middle high schools, and pre-K to 12 schools, who go out and spend 4 days visiting a school, just as they did here in Georgetown several years ago, in March of 2006. Those people were all volunteers. They left schools, plans for substitutes, families, and they devoted 4 days of their time, again, all voluntary, pro bono work. You provided them with a place to stay, some food, some travel expenses. Other than that, it's all voluntary work. What does accreditation mean? To be honest with you, it means a number of things depending upon the audience. But I think some of the things that are most important for the public to be aware of, it means that, and remember, we're a voluntary organization. And we accredit close to 97.5% of all of the public high schools and middle high schools throughout New England. There are very few that are not members, and typically they're very, very tiny schools up in the northern 3 states that have never been members of the association. We have standards, and you have a set of standards that were distributed to you. The standards for accreditation, there are 7 of them. These were the standards that were used by Georgetown High School and the professional staff here in concert with parents, support staff, students, central office personnel, community members that spent close to at least 18 months developing a self-study based on these standards, and then a committee arrived and spent 4 days, used that self-study, met with people, met with students, shadowed students, met with parents in small groups, professional staff, interviewed teachers one-on-one, interviewed people from central office, community members, members of the board, school committee, etc., and they wrote a report. And that accreditation report is based on those 7 standards. And as the school belongs to the association, the expectation is that the school will implement fully the recommendations in that accreditation report. I'm just curious, how many of you here are parents of students at the high school? Hands, okay? How many of you will soon have students at the high school if you don't already? How many of you have read the accreditation report from 2006? Oh, good, very good, okay? It's a public document, it's available. I know the school will make it available to you if you haven't read it already. But we use those qualitative standards. They're written by practitioners throughout New England. They're based on best practice and research. And we have a bibliography on our website, an extensive bibliography funded by the Nellie Mae Foundation that provides documents to support the concepts within our standards. We are the only commission in the United States that does that. It's an extensive bibliography. So if the standards talk about personalizing instruction, there are all kinds of reference documents in there that support that. Why is it important that instruction be personalized, etc.? So a school agrees to meet throughout a 10-year cycle. We function on a decennial cycle, those seven standards throughout the process. Adhere to policies and procedures, which are also on our website, and demonstrate school improvement through implementing the accreditation report. As I said, we function on a 10-year cycle. Georgetown High School has a 5-year progress report due May 15th, 2011. Typically, the 5-year, and it's required of every member school. Typically, they're due in March. We've extended the timeline for Georgetown based on the fact that you have a vote coming up here for an override so that the principal is able to report the most current information to us. The expectation is that when a school submits its 5-year progress report, that the school will have implemented all of the recommendations in that 2006 evaluation report and or be in the final stages of implementing the remaining recommendations. If that's not the case, the Commission will continue to monitor the school's progress. So, you had a visit in Georgetown in 2006. The principal was asked to submit a special progress report before the required 2-year progress report because the school was placed on warning for the standard on community resources for learning, particularly because of concerns about space, facilities issues in this facility, and some additional concerns about consistent levels of funding to support programs and services. So a special progress report was filed. The 2-year progress report was filed in October of 2008. And at that point, the school gave us an update on what it had done at that point in time in addressing each of the